Hi, welcome back to the last video on this plane project. In the previous pictures there you saw the plane as it was from the last video, still covered in the blue marking fluid, but it had been assembled and we knew everything fit. So then I took it apart and I sanded or emery papered all of the parts, got the edges nice and smooth. The next picture then was showing you the undercoat spray paint that went onto the plane, and at this stage now I coated or spray painted them in their proper colours. So we'd undercoat, a grey undercoat here for the black parts and a red undercoat for the red parts. And then finally I lacquered the parts. I didn't video the whole thing because it was taking days. You had to leave 24 hours before you could do kind of the next thing on it. So we say you could do undercoating one day and do the painting the next, and then you could do the lacquering the last day. But I did the wheels separate because I put the whole plane together and then covered in lacquer, but I kept the wheels off so that they'd still be free to rotate. For the wheels, so that I got the black on the edge, I put tape in the middle here, masking tape, and then I just spray painted the whole wheel and then rubbed it on emery paper after taking off the masking tape just to clean up these sides here and take the paint off them. I think it looks okay. It has, it looks like it has tires on it to some extent. I tried just having masking tape in the inner circle here and having this bit black, but every time I tried to cut the masking tape with a sharp knife, the only sharp knife I had, it kept tearing the paper, so I said I just abandoned that idea. So the whole thing I think looks quite good. The colour designs are obviously your own choice. I decided to go with red with the wings and black for the rest of it. So what we're going to do today is finish it off by putting in the electronics and getting it to go. Hopefully it flies. So we'll put these away for a second. I'll show you what electronics are going into it. We have a simple single pole, single throw switch. Just bring this up closer and focus on it. It has 2 pins on the bottom here and it simply flicks between on and off. That's 6.5mm hole for that. Just bring it back. It has a couple of nuts and 2 washers on it. One of the washers, this one, is a tabbed washer. We don't need that, so that's going away. And the other one is a toothed washer, and we're going to keep that one. So I'll be putting that in there shortly. And I have a motor holder, a plastic one. It has its own pad on the back to glue to the front, up here to the front of the plane. Now it's a little bit wide, so I'm going to go over to the bandsaw now and just take a piece off both sides so that it fits in the middle. You want to take it off both sides, otherwise the motor will be left or right. So I'll be doing that in a few minutes. And that is to hold this motor, which is a pretty powerful motor for the size that it is. 3 to 12 volt DC motor, and that just flicks in here, and that'll be grand. And we have a propeller which will go on that, and it actually has enough, it generates enough back airspeed, I suppose, to actually cause the plane to move along the table. And then finally we have a PP3 battery connector and a PP3 battery. Now I will admit from the start, soldering is not something I'm very good at. I tend to have a shake in my hand at the best of times, and apparently it's from drinking too much coffee. So we'll get going on this. I'm going to go over now first of all and just take off pieces off the edge of this, and then I'll be back to start the soldering. Okay, so I've trimmed down this now, and if I take off a little layer of paper on the back, I should expose a sticky surface here. Yes. And I'm going to stick that in, press up on it. That should be enough and stay in place there. And that will hold the motor. If you are looking for these type, I couldn't get them in Ireland. I had to order them from eBay from England. If I can find the link to it, I will. But they're very handy for this, and it means you don't have to worry about gluing or anything like that. So we have that in there now. Okay, so for the solder. Right, so for our circuit we have a 9 volt battery, which that's the symbol for a battery. That has to attach to a switch, and then that is attached to a motor. The circuit is as simple as that, nothing too exciting with it. The one concern would be that we have the motor turning the correct way. Okay, so to wire this up, I checked previously, and on the back of the motor, sorry, just try to get that in focus, they're going the wrong way. On the back of the motor, you'll notice just over here, there's a little dot beside one of the pins, and that dot is to be attached to the black wire from the battery. So I'm just going to put the wire in there, and I'm going to fold it around it. And then we need a wire so that's the wire to the battery. We need one coming from the switch, so I've cut a length of wire and snipped the ends of it. I'm going to put that in the other side and fold the wire around it. And as I said, my fiddly fingers are not good at this sort of thing. That wire then goes to either pole on the switch. I'm going to put it to the outside one just for convenience. And then that goes back to the back, so that goes back to the motor now. So the red wire from this one goes to the other pin on the switch. And as you can see, some of them have decided to come out. So I might actually just solder the ones that are in position now at the minute. That's the red wire soldered. Make sure the black is in a decent position. So I just grabbed this holding device. Hopefully it'll help me solder a bit easier. So just putting on the black wire now. The red wire is done already. You can probably really see how shaky my hands are. So that's those two wires on. And these go to the motor. So, oops. There. Sorry about that, that's the end of the school day. So you said the black wire goes over here. We just soldered that in. And then finally we want to put the black wire from the switch to the other side of the motor. You don't want to have too much heat going into these connectors because they can melt the plastic at the end. There you go. That should be okay now. So all of those wires are just checking that they're tight enough. Okay, so we can remove that. So now we want to fit all of this into the plane. I have that for the switch, and I should have a nut. My nut has disappeared for the switch. What did I do with that as well? I managed to find the nut on the floor, so we're all's good again. So these two we want to put in through the front of the plane. We want them to go over the back wing. I'm just going to put the motor in so that it'll hold that in place. So pop that up. I'm not going to grab the propeller first, it might just confuse things a little bit. And now I'm going to put the switch, I'm going to put the tooted washer on the underneath, so we're less likely to see scratch damage. Tooted washer just gives an extra bit of grip on the metal, but it will probably scratch through the paint. So again, we don't want to see that. I'm just trying to come up now through that. There we go. Now what I did have to do, and you may have to do as well, after spray painting, the hole was slightly too small for the switch, so I just had to re-drill it. Just do that as carefully as possible, not to do any damage to the paint. And we put on that nut. I'm just going to very carefully use pliers to try and tighten that up a little bit. I don't want to scratch the paint, so I'm being nice and gentle. And my finger underneath is holding the switch in position. Now this is the ideal place to have plastic, and after scratching it a little now, plastic pliers. Okay, that should be good enough. And put the battery on it, hopefully it's switched off. No, switched off now. Oh, we know it's working anyway. We'll put the battery underneath. The battery holder, I pop riveted that on. Get in. I pop riveted that on out of camera when I was putting the whole thing together. And of course, this isn't particularly going in too well. Can't really go in with the switch. Not the greatest design in the world. I'm going to jam it in here and pretend no, it won't fit in that way. Just going to jam it in. Should stay there now. I'll figure out that at a later stage. And I'm going to put on the propeller now finally, and we should be ready to go. You may need to hold the motor. Again, these propellers were got on eBay as well. Try and turn the switch. Too much fiddling around in here and we could end up damaging the wiring, so I'm just going to try and turn that and see if I can get the battery up. I think we're in business now. I'm going to get the wires out of the way. You think this will be simple? There we go. We have her in. Try and push the wires in too so we can't see them. A little bit of sellotape in there to hold the wires in nicely. And I'm going to try and turn that switch back 90 degrees. And there we go. And we have our plane totally manufactured. From the working drawings, the first piece of metal at the start, the electronics are done. And the big question, if I turn her on, will she start? We zoom out a little bit so as we get a better view of it. Contact. Oh, she'll move all right. She'll go. Put her back. Goes up. There's a fair bit of force in it. Not the straightest run you'll ever see. It does seem to like to turn itself, but hey, it's moving around and it's going to crash into the... now we have a disaster. Thank you for watching this series of videos. We'll be starting a new project hopefully next week, and I'll be doing it slightly differently, but I'll explain more at that stage. So once again, thanks for watching and bye bye.